I think I've pretty much always been interested in politics since maybe like junior high or high school. I kind of was just like peripherally interested in different topics. I like to argue, really, is the main thing. So that kind of got me interested in it because a lot of people will argue politics with you if you try. So I got into that pretty early. And then my first, like, I guess, real involvement in it was after high school. I got involved with someone who does like political consulting. So he just kind of helps with people's, campaigns and getting donors, things like that. And then I ended up running a campaign for like a district attorney in Marksville, Louisiana. When I saw him interact with them, and he was just a really like good guy, I think I just got lucky with who I ended up representing or working with. I guess I was kind of the polar opposite initially whenever I got into politics, being from like the South. Everybody that I knew was a Republican. All of my family was like, I was raised Catholic, so I was like pretty like far to the right at that point. And then that guy that I worked with, the district attorney, was a Democrat actually, and so just kind of talking to him and talking to his one of his sisters particularly liked to argue a lot about politics and was like, I remember she asked me if I voted for the right person whenever it was like Joe Biden, Trump in 2020. And I was like, well, I think I did. I don't know I know you're not going to agree, but I think that kind of just opened my eyes to different viewpoints that people around me do actually think of things differently. It makes me have to consider it. Like I can't just kind of like blow it off as someone just who hasn't thought about it much or who hasn't really considered it. It's people that are active in politics that know what they're talking about on both sides that make good arguments. And I think that, I think that kind of allowed me to just be more open about where I am. I don't have to like pick a side. It's like, okay, how do I actually feel about these issues? And there is nuance and there's arguments to be had. So the most important current issue, I guess, is kind of like just fighting against what Trump is doing is kind of the main thing that has bothered me as someone who was kind of caught up in that whole how I would describe as a cult. I did believe that he was a good dude. He'd kind of like sold me the lie. Now I was 19 and kind of, indoctrinated in those kinds of political beliefs from like a young age. I don't think like intentionally, just like it was always around me. I think the main thing that opened my eyes was January 6th was like the scariest thing to me because I was someone who kind of believed in some of the election misinformation stuff that was coming out, and but I still like I was like, I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna see how these court cases go. And after court case fails, after you look into what he was actually doing, of not just the riot that he pretty much incited, but also the fact that he sent false slates of electors to different states, that he called people asking for votes, that he inspired like distrust in our election system, which is just like on its face anti-democratic and kind of ruins the whole point of the thing. If we can't trust in the system that elects our officials, then how can we trust in the system at all, I guess? And so as someone who saw that and then woke up from it, kind of realizing like what he's actually doing versus what he says he's doing, what actual policies he puts in place, what his goals seem to be, or at least the people who are kind of around him. Because to me, he seems more like just a populist who will do whatever anybody likes. I don't think it's good to tariff. I think it's obviously the case that that causes like higher costs for the average person, which will obviously disproportionately affect people with less like ability to afford things and who are spending majority of their income on basic necessities. So I think I don't know. I think that's what's confusing to me is that they're able to message to the little guy that the right is always able to say like, oh, we're for blue collar workers, we're for all these people, but they're the ones who are getting screwed in all these policies. It's not actually them who get any benefit. Like, when's the last time you see like tax benefits that are for them and not the wealthy disproportionately? So I don't know how that messaging continues to persist. They always are saying that people are lazy and this is an incentive to sit around and not do things. But I grew up with a single mother on welfare who had food stamps, and that was how we got through it. We can morally judge her all day long, but at the end of the day, she had two kids to take care of. And would we want to take and strip away the money for other kids that are in that same situation? Because I know that I would have starved. I know that I would have had a worse life. I know I would have had worse brain development, worse educational outcomes, like I would not have had the opportunities to get to the situation I'm in now. And that's just a couple extra bucks that we got a month. And she was completely like, that's what supported her. She was on disability for she broke some vertebrae in her spine. She had Crohn's disease. So I just know, coming from that place, I didn't feel like, oh, the problem here is that everyone's lazy. It's like, no, the problem here is severe mental health issues, people who don't feel like they have a shot, people who feel like, oh, now I have a record, and so no one's going to accept me for a job, so what is my other option? How would I advise young people who feel like there's no point in being involved in the political system, voting, things like that? I'd say that if you believe that it's true. If you believe that your vote doesn't matter, then you won't vote, and then it definitely doesn't, and then you have no say. I'd say that if you want to see your effect on politics, then start locally. I see it just here in my involvement in the Democratic Party thus far. It didn't take long for me to get into the precinct position. I think I went to 2 meetings before that, and I got to know people, and I definitely tried to understand the issues that are on the ground before I like took a position like that. But there's a ton of opportunities in local politics for people to actually see things change. If you want to see your school board change, if you want to see your, district attorney, like this, the campaign that I run, I think that's where a lot of people could see actual change happen. I think whenever you think like, oh, I'm one in whatever 150 million people that are going to vote for president, it's like, yeah, you're not all like you're one little droplet in a big bucket. Now you can work with people that are in your community or people that you love, and you can organize and try to get more people to vote in your direction. But it is true that nationally, your effect is less than that of what it will be in a local election. So if you really want to get involved, that's the way to do it. But also, change is slow. You start there and you can slowly move your way up if you want to see that happen. We can keep blaming people and saying that politicians should fix this for us, or you can go do the job. You don't like politicians and what they're doing, then go do it. Go run for something, go get involved in their campaign, go to a town hall meeting. But I'd say probably try it before you assume that there's no point in doing it. I think that's where I see a lot of people making the mistake of just giving up before they even start. It's very clear that there's a distinction between the two sides. The left is not always effectual in the change that they want to get across, but they're clearly not trying to affect negative outcomes for people. And that's the difference, is that the right and the Trump right really is clearly just trying to affect negative outcomes for people that are not like them. If you're not a Christian, white, conservative guy who makes enough money and whatever, and Trump likes you and you don't argue with him, then it's like, then you're bad and you're wrong and you shouldn't be here, and we should be able to throw you in jail or kick you out without due process, because who cares about any of those things? The right sells us this idea that there was this golden time in America where everyone had everything given to them. You could easily go through college, pay your way, buy a house, and have a family. It's like, not for most people. For some groups of white people in that time, yes, they got that. Great, good for them. But not the minorities in our country. Women didn't feel that way. And so don't we want that American dream for everyone if we can have it? The pick yourself up by your bootstraps idea, I empathize with it because I had to do that for myself. But I don't want everyone else to have to do that. I am sad that I had to. I'm sad that the circumstances that I came up in led me to need to be that strong and need to pull myself up by my bootstraps. What gives me hope is that I still believe in the idea of America. I still believe in American people. I still believe in people, period. I think that people generally try to do the best that they can. I don't think that everyone does a great job of that, and there are people that don't try to do the best that they can. But I think that on average, when we look at it, people have been trying to move in the right direction, whether it be abolishing of slavery, whether it be giving women the right to vote, whether it be LGBTQ plus rights. We've continued to move in the right direction, and there are pendulum swings back and forth where we take a couple steps back, and that's unfortunate. But I think that we have to believe and hope in people and hope that they can enact the change that they believe in. Then I hope that people can wake up to what the truth of what is happening right now. And I'm hopeful that people are starting to do that. Based on the numbers that I'm seeing, it looks like people are starting to see that. And people that I know that have always been diehard conservatives are starting to tell me, like, oh, I don't really like this about what Trump's doing, or starting to question things like that. And that does inspire hope in me that these people aren't lost. Because I think there was a period of time where I started to feel like that, very hopeless, that it was kind of over. And honestly, considering, like, should I bring my family and move to Canada or move to another place? And it's like, I still have hope that this can be a great country. I still have hope in American people, and again, in our ideals. I think that we are a very unique and intentionally created nation that, when at our best, are the best that we have to offer as people. I've seen enough good that we can do, and I've seen enough people, regular people, not as many politicians maybe, but regular people that do take care of their neighbors, that do want what's best for people, whether they're different from them or not. And so I believe in the people of America and the ideals that we hold, and I think that that can be reestablished and recommitted to with the right fervor and intentionality amongst us.